Hello and welcome to Q-Shala. Here, you will get to learn new things while answering fun questions. Vaudeville is a kind of theatre that has many art forms like jugglers, dancers, acrobats, animal tamers, etc. And these are presented completely in an independent fashion. The word vaudeville originates from a certain kind of songs sung in Normandy, France, called vaudeville. In the early days of vaudevillian theatre, the performers would have to literally fight to be on stage. There was no specific lineup for a showing, and acts would come from everywhere to be on stage. If you were on stage, you were paid. If you didn't, you weren't. When a group of acts would come together for the fight to center stage after the previous act was finished, the performers would look to each other and say something to the effect of injure a part of another's body in order to wish luck to the other artist attempting to get their money. This is said to be the origin of the phrase break a leg. How words or phrases originated is a fascinating way to get into details of various topics. Etymology, which is the history of word or phrase, is a common theme in competitive quizzes. Let us look at various words or phrase origins. 12 different elements will be shown to you. Take a crack at each one of them and the connection between all of them. Tip that will help in solving long visual connects like this is to make a note of each element and possible guesses. Element 1 is a picture with details about element sulfur. You can see the atomic number and mass of the element. Element 2 is a lush green picture of a naturally occurring place. Element 3 is a sweet treat loved by young ones. Element 4 is a plain woven textile made from unbleached and often not fully processed cotton. It may contain unseparated husk parts, for example. The fabric is less coarse and thicker than canvas or denim, but owing to its unfinished and undyed appearance, it is still very cheap. Fifth element is a superhero from Marvel Comics universe. Interestingly, a famous publication house shares its name with him. Next element is a natural phenomenon that occurs in the Indian or Western Pacific Oceans. Seventh element is an attire that is absolutely comfortable. Element 8 is a favorite fruit. Ninth element is a big house with multiple rooms. 10th element has 5 ingredients: alcohol, sugar, lemon, water, and tea or spices. Element 11 is a 2009 movie that is the highest grossing movie of all time. Final element is an item we all use as a way to keep ourselves clean and hygienic. What do you think is the connection between all these elements? The hint is to go back to our theme for today, etymology. All the words shown are the words that have Indian origins. Let us look at each of these words. Indians knew of a chemical and they called it sulphuri. In Latin, it became sulfur. Elemental sulfur is used in black gunpowder, matches, and fireworks, in the vulcanization of rubber, as a fungicide, insecticide, and fumigant, in the manufacture of phosphate fertilizers, and in the treatment of certain skin diseases. The principal use of sulfur, however, is in the preparation of its compounds. Jungle is an area of dense vegetation or, by extension, any challenging or hostile environment. It derives from the Hindi word jungle, meaning a forest, and began to be used in English during the 18th century. Another word for sugar in Sanskrit is khanda. This one traveled to Persia and then to France as sucre candy and then to England in the form of candy. Originally from the city of Kozhikode, known by the English as Calicut in southwestern India, the fabric was made by the traditional weavers called Kaliyans. The raw fabric was dyed and printed in bright hues, and calico prints became popular in Europe. Juggernaut has its origins in the name of Lord Vishnu, Jagannath. During the British colonial era, Christian missionaries promulgated a falsehood that Hindu devotees of Krishna were lunatic fanatics who threw themselves under the wheels of huge chariots in order to attain salvation. Britons of the time hence contrived the word juggernaut to refer to examples of unstoppable crushing forces. Typhoon comes from the Hindu or Urdu word tufan. Early 19th century, from Urdu and Persian, from pai meaning leg, jama meaning clothing, the word entered English in the 19th century. Mango. This is from mangai in Tamil for mango. Derives from the Hindi word Bangla, meaning literally in the style of or belonging to Bengal. The word bungalow in English dates back to the 17th century when it was used to refer to a type of cottage built in Bengal for early European settlers. Punch is an iced mixed drink, usually containing alcohol and prepared for multiple servings, normally served in a punch bowl. Origin from the drink named as Panch, that was originally made with 5 derived from panch in Urdu or Hindi ingredient, and alcohol, sugar, lemon, water, and tea or spices. In Hinduism, an avatar is a manifestation in human or animal form of a god, especially Vishnu. The word first appeared in English in the 18th century and derives ultimately from the Sanskrit word avatara, meaning descent. More recently, the word has gained additional senses, for example, to refer to a computer user's visual representation within a game or on a forum. A soapy liquid for washing the hair or other things such as carpets. It arrived in English in the 18th century and derives from the Hindi word champo, meaning to squeeze, knead or massage. Do you know any words that have Indian origins? Send it to us in the comments below. Let's practice a bit more with a Kahoot challenge. Pick up an extra phone or a tablet or even open your laptop. Go to your browser and type in www.kahoot.it. Enter the game pin and you are ready to face your challenge. For Kahoot, it is 0479656. You can go to your browser and type in www.kahoot.it and type in this game pin, that is 0479656, and click on enter. Alternatively, you can also click on the link in the description below. Once you enter, you will be ready for this Kahoot challenge. Enter your nickname and then you will be ready. Let me type in my name and let's start off. This is a Kahoot by Qshala to practice etymology and be a pro quizzer. Here's the first question. This phrase actually has sinister origins, rooted in the criminal world of the 18th century. Street thieves would literally pull victims down by pulling a particular part of the body in order to more easily rob them. So let's see what this phrase is. So, what phrase do you think this is? And your options are pulling one's neck, pulling one's hand, pulling one's ear, or pulling one's leg. You have less than 10 seconds now. What do you think this phrase is? Which actually originates from the criminal world of the 18th century. Here's the second question. A certain popular phrase relating to an animal owes to its origin to a myth that comes from a book called The Travels of Sir John Mandeville, wherein that specific animal is supposed to cry to attract prey towards itself and even cried while eating. So that is the origin of this phrase. What phrase do you think this is? And your options are like this: monkey tears, turtle tears, crocodile tears, or bat tears. Here's our third question. During winter, frozen rivers would stop commercial ships from entering towns. A smaller dash ship would clear the path. Name of these ships actually led to a phrase which now means to create new relations or friendships. So, what is this phrase that we're speaking about? And your options are like this: lead the way, sail through, break the ice, or break the sea. What do you think is the right answer? Click on their corresponding option and then you will be sealing in your answer. You have less than 7 seconds now. Which word gets its origin from two Celtic words which mean battle and cry, respectively? So, is it a poster, a slogan, protest, or satyagraha? What is this word that gets its origin from two Celtic words which mean battle and cry, respectively? So, a combination of these two words make one word. Which word means something given in addition to what is strictly due? In pure Latin, it means a good thing. And your options are bonus, hike, incentive, allowance. What do you think that is sort of an addition given to what is strictly due? And in Latin, it means a good thing. Quizzing is essentially a journey of learn, unlearn, and relearn. Here is Vaishnavi Rao from Team Q Shala telling us her story.
I'm Vaishnavi and I'm a part of the Q Shala team. And I started quizzing a little too late, according to me. So I started when I was in grade 11. It took me a lot of time to agree to the fact that it's okay to start a little late, and it helped me realize that all these years the knowledge that I had gained by reading books actually came in handy, right? So it's never too late to start is what I realized. So grade 11 is when I actually started quizzing. The reason for starting out late was this huge mental block that quizzing is only for the super smart folks. And even in grade 11, I took some time to get over this mental block. And the reason it got started, like I got into quizzing, was when I could see that some of the people that I looked up to in like among my peers who were not able to answer a couple of questions, and I was able to answer them. So that made me feel like, hey, I might be cut out for this. Give it a shot. And of course, you don't excel at things at the very first shot. It needs a little bit of hard work. So I thought, let's give it a shot and figure out if this works. So I remember I used to religiously attend all the quizzes that happened in grade 11 and 12. I was that diligent note taker. So I used to sit at the back, and although I scored very badly or very poorly in the prelims, I used to stay till the end of the quiz, sit behind, make notes, actually go read up more on it, research on it. So that is what helped me. And I think a note of appreciation from peers, right? So I could see that my seniors noticed me attending every quiz religiously. And when I got a couple of answers right, them actually appreciating me, saying, hey, that was a cracker of an answer. You should, keep continuing, and you should actually figure out what are some areas that you like. You should probably figure out a team member and then take this a little more seriously. I must say I was very privileged to not face a lot of challenges. I was probably at the right place at the right time to find the perfect kind of team members throughout college and throughout, grade 11 and 12 as well. So one major challenge was, the timings. So most quizzes start off late and they are slightly far off. So travel and, safety would be a concern. But somehow we managed to get through that. Peacefully. It was a happy ending of sorts. But the other major challenge is there are some areas that, you would generally not be interested. And this is like a personal block, right? So some areas that you're not interested. So it takes a little extra effort to familiarize yourself and, prepare for those, or get a hang of what it works. But I must say I was really, really privileged to have a great bunch of people around me. And one challenge would be to open up and ask for help and talk to people, right? I'm an introvert, so I had some initial challenges. But once I reached out to the people around me, it was great, right? So every quiz was almost like meeting friends from different colleges. It was almost like a picnic of sorts, right? Meeting up friends and then learning about what they've been up to, what are some upcoming quizzes, who's their team member, what strategy are they using. So yeah, I don't think there have been much of challenges apart from this. A couple of topics that was slightly challenging for me because I'm not much into it. One was sports, the other was technology, and the other one was a mix of both video games. So the way how I managed to sail through this was, interestingly, my team members were exactly complementary, right? So, our topics of interest, there were some common areas, but they were also slightly different, right? So we would divide these topics on the basis of our interest, and although both of us would prepare for each other, each other's topics, but we knew that there was one person who was slightly an expert in certain topics. First time I ever heard about Tata Crucible, I was in grade 11. I just started quizzing. So I was just keeping an eye out for what are the big ticket events in quizzes. So I managed to go for one, and I had a team member with me. So the first year was just absorbing how is the format, what are the topics. And then grade 12, I went with a junior, and both of us were so excited. We were jumping up and giving the answers. We were high-fiving each other every time we knew the answer. And when the finalists were announced, everyone looked towards us and they said, "Why didn't you qualify?" And then we had to tell everyone that, we were not even eligible in the first place. We were just there to just check how well we were, how good enough we were, right? So that really got us some attention and some confidence in ourselves, right? And then the quizmaster really turned up towards us and said, why didn't you qualify? Because you were so excited, you were jumping up every time a question came, you always had your hands up, asking for a chance to answer. And he was really impressed, and that really got the ball rolling. And that was the first couple of experiences when we just went for the sake of it, and we were not even eligible, right? And then the 3 years of college, it was again attending campus, participating, and always missing out by say 3 points or like 4 points, but we always ensured that we stayed till the end, and we were always early for the quiz, even before it started. So 2 years, the first 2 years, it was the story of just misses. And the third year, I was really determined because I felt that because of the network that I had, everyone had won it or at least qualified for the finals, right? And I just felt very bad about myself. So I thought I really, really have to qualify, right? And over the 2 years, I'd grown a network. I'd quizzed with a lot of people. I dedicated some exclusive time to practice more, focus on areas or topics that I'm not comfortable with. And on the D-Day, so I thought I'm going to graduate with this title, right? And on the D-Day, interestingly, the finals was on the day of my farewell, right? Farewell from college. So I just taken permission from college and not mentioned it to any of my, batchmates. And on the D-Day, everyone called me up saying, "Hey, where are you? We're all ready for the party." And I said, "Please put the phone down. I'm in a quiz. I have to attempt the prelims." And the phone kept ringing, and I kept it aside. And we qualified for the prelims. We did the math. We got our strategy right. And at the end, it was a 3-way tiebreaker for the second spot. And I don't know what happened. We finally got it right. And I had tears in my eyes and I cried. And looking at me crying, the quizmaster walked up to me and said, "Finally, you made it, right? I saw you every year come and crib that, you missed it. I'm very happy." And I told him that I missed my farewell, my college farewell, because of the quiz. And he said, "Tell me a farewell where they give you a check and they also display your name on the Tata Crucible website." And I said, "Absolutely. This is the best farewell that I could expect." So yeah, I think this was the most memorable moment in my quizzing journey so far. I think the biggest highlight as a quizmaster would be the Kyushala Sunday Family Quiz. Something that started out as a small experiment, snowballing into this huge, huge routine every Sunday for a lot of families across the country, is probably the biggest high as a quizmaster. And all these families logging in every Sunday, talking to me like just a member of the family every time I call them up about their experience, any suggestions, I think is the biggest the biggest moment as a quizmaster. And just trying to reinvent and get all the guest quizmasters, most of the people that I looked up to growing up, and getting a chance to interact with them and tell them personally how they've had a huge influence in my life, I think is the best part of being a quizmaster at Kyushala. One, have a beginner's mindset. Very, very important. If you think that you know everything, I think the very attitude is wrong. And if this is not in place, nothing else matters. So that's the first point. The second point is for you to be a quizmaster yourself, right? So you need to read, you need to step into the shoes of a quizmaster, make questions, read And one way for you to remember things, at least this is for me, that if I read something, I may forget it, but if I make a question and I ask, say, 2-3 people, they will also remember and I will also remember. So that's my strategy of remembering things. So be a quiz master for yourself, to keep yourself updated, right? And the third thing is to actually mingle with people, be a part of different quizzes on topics which are outside your comfort zone, right? So get into the rigor of competitive quizzing or fun quizzing or a mix of both, right? So put that learning into practice, so that you get used to it, you learn from others, you also network and find out about what other quizzes are coming up and learn about new strategies. Those are my 3 tips.
That was chapter 3 of How to Be a Pro Quizzer, where we looked at origins of words and phrases. If you like this chapter, like and share the video. Subscribe to Qshala for more such engaging content. Next week, we will be stepping into the past. See you soon.